Colt's POV. "Why don't you want to tell me?" I asked, frustrated. "Are you scared that this big bad wolf will not be able to handle a little dream?" Kate dropped her gaze and she shook visibly. "I can't always just give in," she said. "You know, you have made a decision and are sticking to it. I have done so too." Was she playing hard ass with me? I gave Kate a teasing smile and nodded. I knew what she was hinting at, and I wasn't giving in on my decision. Kate needed time to process everything that was happening around her, to her, and with us. Having one mate to mark and mate with was one thing, but she had 3 mates wanting her at the same time, and all 3 of us wanted to mate and mark her. Fuck. If it wasn't for my impeccable self-control, I would have already swept Kate off her feet and done the deed, making her mine. I internally sighed. I was looking out for Kate at every corner. Even though it frustrated me to hell and back, I would find another way to get Kate to tell me what was going on. If we were marked and mated, I could have at least tapped into her emotions and heard her thoughts, but it was a last-minute decision not to mark Kate last night. I sighed as my mind wandered off to last night. I could still see Kate lying in my arms. She looked so beautiful under the dim light. She looked so pure and innocent. I wanted her with everything inside me. Every cell in my body was going nuts to have her. Yet I needed to remind myself that this girl, my mate, the mate I share with my brother, has gone through more shot in her short life than most wolves have ever gone through in one lifetime. "Mark her," Ray ordered in the back of my mind, startling me. He was determined to make her ours. "No, not yet," I said, looking down at her and inhaling her warm, rich caramel scent. Ray was obviously not happy with my decision and became annoyed and aggressive. He fought for control, but I managed to block him off, building a mental wall between us. "What's the holdup?" Sam asked, seeing me hesitate. Kate had already given us access to her nape. She was physically ready, but I knew she wasn't mentally prepared. "I can't," I linked back. "It doesn't feel right." "Then I'll do it," Gray said, getting up. "No," I growled over the link, pulling Kate protectively closer to me. "She isn't ready." "Look at her, Colt," Gray yelled back over the link. "She looks more than ready for me." I shook my head, lifting my gaze and looking between Sam and Gray. "Things are going too fast for her," I replied. "She hasn't even processed the fact that she could move her toes." Both sighed, frustrated. They weren't happy with what I just said. "I understand." Sam was the first to give in and accept my decision, and he kissed Kate's shoulder. She shivered under his touch, and a small moan left her rosy lips. "But I don't," Gray growled, pissed. "Should I knock it into you?" Sam asked, turning to look at Gray. "Until you understand, I will gladly do so." Gray rolled his eyes, shaking his head. He knew that Sam would be able to put him on his ass, and if he stood by my side, he had no chance to get to Kate. "So what do we do now?" Gray asked. "Leave hickeys on her nape," Sam suggested, holding Gray's gaze. "What?" I asked, a bit confused. "Other packs do it," he said. "It's especially done among Lunas and Alphas. Mom and Dad did the same. It is basically a symbol stating that Luna is claimed by her mate, but there are still negotiations going on amongst the packs." "But we are not negotiating anything," Gray argued. "Kate will be devastated if we don't mark her." "Are you sure?" Sam asked. "I can promise you she will understand." "How do you know?" I asked, becoming worried that Gray was right. "Because I can feel her emotions," Sam said. "She felt and looked a bit overwhelmed when I fetched her earlier from her room." "Then I'm doing the right thing. Kate needs time. We will mark her after we take over the pack," I said, giving my brothers no room to argue. My heart pinched at accepting the decision, yet it made me feel more in control. "I have promised Kate that I won't rush her. We will go at her pace. This is me looking out for her." "Very well," Gray said, and he sighed. Sam nodded his head in agreement. I extended my canines, looked at my brothers, and scratched the surface of Kate's nape. It wasn't deep enough to say she was marked, but it will help strengthen the bond between us. Kate moaned in my arms the second I broke her skin, and her arms snapped around my neck. Her breathing started racing. "Oh, goddess, help me stop. I want to taste all of her." I was afraid of losing control and fully marking her. Ray found a way to break free from behind the wall and took control, shoving me to the back of my mind. At first, I was worried that he would mark her, and I tried to fight him off, but Ray was determined to be with her. When he let go of Kate's nape, I sighed, relieved to see he had only left a decent hickey on Kate's nape. "Fuck, her blood tastes so sweet," Ray whispered. I ignored him, moving out of the way to give my brothers a chance. "My turn," Gray growled. Gray did the same as I did, only his hickeys were done sloppy and all over the place. Kate moaned in the beginning, then her moaning started to sound like whimpering. "He is hurting her," Ray growled, and I pulled Gray off Kate. "You don't need to be that rough with her," I growled at him. "Seriously, Gray?" Sam spat, angry at him. "You are hurting our mate." "What did I do wrong?" Gray asked, bewildered. "We will discuss it later," I growled, turning to Sam. "You better save the situation," I said, and Sam nodded, knowing what to do. Sam, on the other hand, was a natural. He took Kate in his arms and started kissing her, slowly building up to the climax of him leaving a mark. When he was eventually done, Kate was exhausted and had fallen asleep in his arms. Sam carried her back to her room, and he stayed with her the night, while Gray and I planned today's beach trip. Was her dream that bad? I don't think it was a dream, Sam's mind linked, bringing me back to the present. I think she saw something, a vision or something. "Like what?" I asked. "I can't read her mind," he said, "just her emotions." Gray came out of the bathroom. "And because we didn't mark our mate, we don't know what is going on," he hissed. "By the way, the bath is ready." "Thanks," I said, ignoring Gray's attitude. "Do you need any help?" he suddenly asked, yet I shook my head. "I can handle it from here, thanks," I said. I didn't want Gray near Kate until he learned to be a bit gentler. "Check up with Sally and make sure everything is ready for our trip down to the beach," I ordered, closing the link altogether. Gray rolled his eyes, crossed his arms around his chest, nodded, and left. He wasn't too happy about him leaving Kate with me alone. I got up and lifted Kate into my arms, then carried her to the bathroom and sat her down on a chair next to the bath. I was about to leave when Kate stopped me. "Will you help me get undressed?" Catherine POV. The sun was kissing my skin, and my whole body was feeling fuzzy and warm. The triplets took me down to the beach, and I was silently sitting under a sun umbrella with my legs spread in the sun. Colt and Sam had taken each other surfing and were riding the waves like naturals. Gray had gone diving just a couple of feet further down. He was adamant about catching some crayfish and making us a seafood platter for supper. My thoughts trailed off earlier that day. Colt stood frozen when I asked him to help me get undressed. His bewildered expression was comical, and I loved it. What was he thinking at that moment? "Ah, are you sure?" he stuttered, suddenly agitated. "Well," I said, lifting my index finger to my chin, acting like I was thinking about it. "Yeah," I said, "I need to get in the bath and do it with all this on." "Well," Colt blinked a couple of times before his gaze moved over what I was wearing. "I'm going to drown in these." I tried to sound serious as I lifted the shirt I was wearing. Sam had only taken off my shoes last night, and I slept in my clothes to my annoyance, yet I was glad. Colt flinched at my words and took a step toward me. Concern crossed his cold blue eyes. I secretly chuckled inside, feeling my heart race inside my chest out of excitement. The closest I ever came to a man undressing me was Brian, and we never went further than just kissing and stripping. Here I was about to be full-blown bare in front of Colt, and I was excited about it. I wanted Colt to see me for me first, be the one to touch me first, mark me first, and make love to me first. Was that wrong of me? It wasn't because of his status as the alpha. No, on the contrary, there was something about Colt that was pulling me toward him like a moth to a flame. Yet, I couldn't help feeling bad about the idea that I wasn't being honest about what I was feeling. "Okay," Colt said after a moment. "Did he inform his brothers of what I wanted?" A small smile followed on his lips as he came closer, squatted down next to me, and lifted the shirt over my head. When he threw the shirt aside, he kept his eyes closed. I internally sighed, annoyed. Colt was going out of his way to be an absolute gentleman. What more can you ask for? Kia mused in my mind. He is absolutely gorgeous. The goddess made a fabulous choice to give us them. I couldn't argue. She was right. I slid my underwear off and threw them to Colt. His face darkened when he got hold of my underwear and took a deep whiff of the thongs and bra in his hands. "You smell so delicious, mate," he huskily whispered, yet he didn't open his eyes to take a peek. I stretched my hand out to Colt, touching his arms. He shivered at my touch. And feels so good. I am ready, I said. You can lift me and put me down in the bath. The bath itself was huge and could easily fit at least 5 huge male wolves. It looked more like a small swimming pool than a bath. Colt carefully and swiftly lifted me from the bathroom chair and placed me in the tub. His movements were so flawless that it was as if he had done this 1,000 times before. I moved some of the foam closer and covered my bare skin. You can open your eyes now, I said teasingly. I think I can manage, he said, taking a seat. Very well, I said, pouting. Yet another idea popped into my head. I reached for the sponge, poured my favorite liquid soap on it, and placed the sponge in his huge hand. Mind washing my back? I asked sweetly, watching his facial expression. Only your back? He asked. Well, yes, I said, except if you would like to let your hands explore. Colt pulled his lips into a thin line, and his face fluttered red. Ah, the big bad alpha can blush. Alpha, I said, moving closer to him. I have many places I would like you to explore, and I would love for you to be the first to discover those. My pussy clenched just thinking of the possibilities of where his hands could wander, and the places his soft but firm lips could kiss. Colt cleared his throat and opened his eyes. They were black, and Ray must be on the surface. I suggest you don't tease us, Ray said. You wouldn't be staying a virgin if you kept this act up. I cubed Colt's face, and he lay into my touch. I want to feel you, I said. I want you to touch me. I want you inside me. Are you sure that is what you want? Colt asked, and his eyes changed back to blue, pinning my gaze. He refused to even peek down at my naked body. Bloody Colt has impeccable self-control. Will I dare to test it? I am, I said, being serious. I haven't been this sure about anything else in my life. Colt closed his eyes. We are all your mates. You have accepted us all, he said. I can't be the only one mating with you. It wouldn't be fair to my brothers. I swallowed hard, imagining having all 3 of them at the same time. Will I be able to handle all 3 of them? You're right, I said, thinking it over for a moment. Colt's eyes snapped open and worry crossed his eyes. Are you sure this is what you want? I slowly nodded. Yes. Care to join us? Sam suddenly asked, breaking my train of thought, and the best memory of my life vanished before my eyes. Sam took a whiff of the air around us and his eyes darkened. Was he smelling my arousal? I ignored his gaze as my eyes followed the water droplets running down his beautifully crafted body, and I licked my lips. No, I said, feeling my face turn red. I can't surf. I would have thought that now that we had done the deed, it would be easier for me to look at them, but it was as if it became worse. Now I just wanted all 3 of them to take me to bed and have their cocks buried deep inside me. I'll teach you, he said, smiling. Maybe some other time? I said. I'll take your word for it, Sam replied. My cell phone suddenly rang, and Sam picked it up and handed it out to me, then ran back to the water to catch the next wave. I looked at the caller ID, seeing that it was Jimmy, and answered. I had called him earlier, but it had gone to voicemail. Hey, sis. Jimmy's cheerful voice came through the receiver. What's up? Just lying lazily on the beach, and you, I said, drawing pictures in the sand. Getting ready for a date, he said. You found your mate? I yelled out excitedly to him. Yeah, he said. Joey shifted last night, and she is my mate. Jimmy had an eye on the small, pitied, blonde-headed girl since kindergarten. He was head over heels in love with her. Yet Joey refuses to date anyone. She believed that it would be a total waste of time if she dated. She only believed in having a fated mate and nothing more. Congratulations, I yelled at the receiver, excited. I am so happy for you. Thanks, sis, he said, and his voice turned more serious. I assume there was a reason for your call. I have a feeling it's not because you miss us. Yeah, I said, chuckling nervously and swallowing hard against the lump that had just formed in my throat. Jimmy knew me well. Hiding something from him was almost impossible. I need to know if Brian is still behind bars. Colt's POV. I sucked at surfing today. Every wave I rode ended up causing me to lose my balance and wipe out. You are not concentrating, Ray said, finding it annoying. Not that he cared, he was just as distracted as I was. I know, I said, trying to catch the next wave. Kate's body lying under me was the only thing that was popping up in my mind. I could still feel, see, taste, and smell her. My gaze snapped toward where she was sitting on the beach. She looked deep in thought. Was she thinking of me too? Was she regretting us mating? A wave crashed over me, and I lost my balance and landed in the water. I pulled my board closer and got on, waiting for the next wave. Sam swam out, taking a seat next to Kate. He was more in control than any of us were. I sighed. Kate shook her head, looking nervously at Sam. "What did you ask, Kate?" I linked Sam, interested in knowing what was going on. A bit of jealousy sprouted from my insides. He chuckled, amused, before he answered. "Just asking if she would like to join us surfing," he linked back. "Oh, what did she say?" "Obviously, no," he replied, laughing. "I think she is a bit afraid of the waves. They are a bit big today." Sam cut the link and handed Kate her phone. Was someone calling? I ignored it and searched for the next wave to get out of the water. This time, I was able to ride the waves out, and in the last bit, I swam. Kate's gaze moved to me, and a blush formed on her cheeks. I pinned the surfboard in the sun and took a seat next to her. "Are you in the mood for a little fun?" I asked. "Or are you still a bit sore?" That made Kate even redder, and she bit her bottom lip and dropped her gaze in embarrassment. My heart throbbed in my chest, and it reminded me of the little moans she made just a few hours ago. "I'm fine," she said. "What kind of fun?" "Ray is in the mood to take a run," I said, searching her gaze. "He wants me to ride him?" she asked. "Oh, girl," Ray mused in my mind, sending pictures of all kinds of positions. "I want you to always ride me." I grinned, and Kate swallowed hard. She immediately caught on to the double meaning in her words. "Yeah," I said, eyes wide with a broad smile, nodding. "He definitely wants you to ride him." I got to my feet and stripped, not caring that she would see me butt naked. She had seen it all, tasted it, and touched it. Now it was just a matter of when and where we would be doing it. Kate lifted her gaze, interested in what I was doing, and her eyes widened when I threw my swimsuit at her. "What are you doing?" she squeaked. "They are my favorite swimsuit," I said, keeping a straight face. "I can't bear to lose them." "Oh," she said, turning her gaze to look somewhere else. "Kate, look at me," I said, squatting in front of her. "No," she said, biting her bottom lip. "You better get used to us walking around naked in front of you," Sam said, coming closer. Kate's gaze snapped toward Sam. "Oh, heavens," she said. "You too?" "What?" he asked. "It is absolutely normal for any wolf to. Not on the beach," she snapped. "Anyone can see." "Let them," Sam said proudly. "Who doesn't want a body like this?" "Mine," Kate growled. Her eyes turned gold and her hands shifted into claws. I shivered. The single word was pure bliss for my soul. I wanted to hear her say it again. "Jealous?" I asked, gesturing at what she had done. Kate looked at her hands, bewildered. Then her gaze moved to me, and then to Sam. Her eyes had changed back to their beautiful forest green color. "Her wolf is on the surface," Sam linked me, I replied, watching Kate. "It seems like Kate's wolf is a bit possessive." "I like possessive," Sam purred. "Shh! How?" Kate stuttered in shock, looking at her claws that were now changing back into her hands. "It seems like someone is ready to take her first shift," Gray said, walking towards us with a bucket in his hands. "It seems like so," Sam said, nodding his head. "Are you guys going for a run?" Gray asked, looking between the two of us. "Yeah, we were planning to," I said. "Ray wanted to take Kate for a run. But she doesn't appreciate us standing all bare on a beach where everyone can see our perfectly sculptured alpha bodies and huge manhoods," Sam said teasingly. "Mine," Kate growled again, her eyes turning gold. "Calm down," Sam said, "that we belong only to you." Kate's gaze moved to Sam, and she shifted her head to the side and narrowed her eyes. "What are you doing, Sam?" I mind-linked. "Her wolf is on the surface," he replied. "Her emotions are different." I knitted my eyebrows, watching Kate intensively. Was she trying to read Sam? "We can see you have grown stronger," Gray said. "Are you ready to shift?" Kate's gaze moved to Gray. She looked him up and down, scrunched her nose in displeasure, and sneezed. "What?" he asked. "What did I do wrong?" "I guess it's something to do with what's in your bucket," I said. Yet Kate didn't say a word. She just observed. "Give me control," Ray said, becoming anxious. "Why? I have a feeling she has something to tell us. Let me have control now before she leaves," he said. I didn't see any harm in it, and I gave Ray control. "Kia?" The single word escaped my lips, and both my brothers turned their gazes toward me. Surprised colored their faces. They never expected me to give Ray control over my human body. "Yes, Ray?" Kia replied, her voice higher than Kate's, yet almost warmer and magical. "Is there something you need us to know?" Ray asked and cubed her face. Kia shivered at our touch and lay into my hand. "You feel so nice and warm," she said. Then she lifted her gaze, looking at all three of us as if she were making sure our attention was on her. Her eyes suddenly darkened and took on a deep, liquid golden color. She turned her gaze toward me, and her eyes turned worried and serious. "I have news," she said calmly. "And I don't have much time." "What kind of news?" Sam asked, shifting his head to the side. "The prisoner has escaped," she said, and a cold chill ran down my back. This was a warning. "He is coming for Kate. Catherine POV. Let them," Sam said proudly. "Who doesn't want a body like this?" Sam's words rang in my head. I knew he was only teasing me. Mine. The single word escaped my lips and everything froze around me. What the hell was happening? It felt like I was stuck, as if my brain had frozen in that second, and I was incapable of helping myself. I could sense the triplets around me and even Colt's warm touch. Did they notice I was out of it? A few seconds later, I looked at my hands and saw they had shifted into claws. "What the fuck? How the hell did that happen?" "How?" I shrieked. I didn't even listen to a word any of the brothers were saying. They were discussing my state, yet none of them were really paying attention to me. I froze as I watched my claws change back into my hands. "Kia?" I yelled. Nothing. It was as if I was trapped in my own mind. "Kate?" Colt called. "Kate, can you hear me?" I blinked a couple of times, adjusting my eyes to the sharp light. The triplets were lying forward, all three of their faces looking at me worried. "Yeah, what happened?" I asked, looking among them. They were all fully dressed. Weren't they butt-naked a minute ago? "I asked if you wanted to go for a run," Colt said. "Weren't you just—" My thoughts trailed off. Was it my imagination? "Just what?" Sam asked. "Looks like Kate had too much sun for one day," Gray commented. I narrowed my eyes at them, joking at my expense, and turned my attention to Colt, who was just looking at me. Something crossed his eyes, and I knew he was hiding something from me. "I would love to take a ride," I said. Colt nodded and walked off and shifted. Moments later, he returned as Ray. Gray lifted me onto Ray's back. Ray waited until I was sure I was holding him tightly, and then he charged forward, running down the beach, leaving a cloud of dust and sand behind him. I turned my head to look at his brothers. They were looking a bit annoyed at Colt. Sam and Gray shifted and chased after us. A giggle escaped my lips as I opened my arms and let the wind brush around me. I enjoyed feeling the wind in my hair and being free. Duke Gray's wolf was the first to catch up. He nipped at Ray's tail to distract him. That pissed Ray off, and he ran faster, and he sprinted through the shallow water, spraying me with the water. Duke became annoyed, and eventually he cut Ray off and growled. Ray raised his huge head, giving him a taunting look, then raced past him. I guess he didn't like the idea that Duke gave him orders, or was it Gray? It ended up being a cat-and-mouse game, with Ray making sure his brothers didn't catch him. "Okay, big guy," I said, rubbing Ray's side. "It's time to give your brothers a chance to have me as well." Ray whimpered, and he gave me the puppy eyes look. "Now don't be like that," I said, feeling sad for him. "Sharing is caring." Ray shook his head and snorted, and at that moment, I wished I could hear his thoughts. Duke and Luca ran closer and cut Ray off, pushing him back against the rocks and forcing him to hand me over to them. They looked a bit pissed. They weren't playing Ray's game anymore. "I think you should let me off here," I said, looking at the steep rocks going up to what looked like a cliff. Ray turned his head toward me and winked. "You better hold on tight," Kia yelled, a warning in my mind, and I grabbed hold of Ray's neck. Ray took a step back, then launched himself into the air with an amazing jump. I yelled out of shock, amazement, and fear, closing my eyes as I saw Luca and Duke jump, trying to catch Ray in the air. A hard crashing sound followed, then growls and whimpering. I opened my eyes, seeing Duke and Luca lying in the sand on top of one another, shaking their heads, confused and annoyed. Ray landed like a cat on his paws, silent and gracefully. He looked back at his brothers and snorted. "You are being mean," I said, rubbing Ray's ear. You should really give them a chance to have me too. I belong to all three of you. Ray sighed and lowered his head. He knew I wasn't angry. On the contrary, I would love to do that again, but I wasn't going to let Ray start a fight over me. Luca was the first to get on his paws, and he sprinted closer. He dropped his gaze and looked at Ray, whimpering softly. Ray nodded and lay down, and Sam came to lie next to him. You want me to climb over? I asked, surprised that one of them didn't shift back to lift me over. Luca nodded his massive head. He had a little glimmer of excitement in his eyes. I pulled myself off Ray's back and pushed myself onto Luca's back. Ray got to his feet, pushing me with his snout, trying to help me. Duke walked closer, looking a bit annoyed. You will have your turn, I said. Give Luca a chance. My words were cut short when Luca sprinted towards the wave, making sure we were deep enough to ensure I was soaking wet. Yet, Luca made sure we were close enough to be sore to be able to be pulled out of the water easily. He played in the water for about an hour, and before long my stomach growled, indicating that I needed to eat. Luca shifted his head to look at me, and I gave him a small smile. He silently walked out of the water, and Duke came closer. The trip back to the beach house was a bit more relaxing. Ray and Luca ran ahead to get everything ready, and we caught up with them a few minutes later where all our stuff was lying under the umbrella. Colt and Sam had already shifted back, and I was admiring their bodies from a distance. My mind trailed off earlier today. Colt didn't hesitate. He carefully lifted me out of the bathtub, placed me on a fluffy white towel, and dried me. He then carried me back to my room and laid me on the bed. Sam and Gray were already waiting. Their eyes had darkened, and I could smell their arousal. It was, to say the least, intimidating. I was scared, even afraid. Are you sure? Colt asked. He must have seen me getting worried. Having all three staring at me like hungry wolves was making me nervous. I wasn't sure what to expect. Will it hurt? I took a deep breath, shaking the worry and my insecurities off. I wanted this, I reminded myself. They were my mates, and I had prolonged the mating for way too long. Normal wolves do the deed as soon as possible. I am, I said after a moment of silence. Do you want only one of us at a time? Gray asked, sounding concerned. I shook my head. Who do you want to taste first? Sam asked. I hesitated. I already knew I wanted Colt first, but would Gray and Sam be offended? The triplets went silent, then all three nodded in unison. What? I gasped, wide-eyed. What did you discuss? We will follow rank, Colt explained. I'm the eldest, then Gray and Sam will be last. And you are all fine with that? I asked, feeling my heart race. Yes, all three answered in unison. I might be the last to taste you, Sam said, but I will be the first who will fuck your smart-ass mouth. I shivered at the thought of having Sam's huge cock deep down in my throat. There you are, Sam yelled, breaking my chain of thoughts, and ran closer. We thought you two had gotten lost. I lazily moved my attention to him. I was tired of all this playing in the sun. Sam gestured to me to slide off Duke's back. He wanted to give me a piggyback ride back to the beach house. I laughed and giggled as Sam carried me on his back. Colt and Gray are right behind us. Sam climbed the steps toward the deck when Gray let out a wolf whistle behind us, followed by something like a moan from Colt. Sam turned so that we could both face them, and I gave them a confused look. Both of them went silent, looking in all directions. What? I asked, glaring at them. Well, Colt said, turning a bit reddish, we couldn't help but stare at your perfect round. Colt's thoughts were cut off when his gaze snapped towards something or someone behind us, and Sam stiffened under me. Gray took a step back, dropping his head. I slowly turned my gaze to see who or what it was, finding an undisclosed item on this week's agenda. Catherine POV. My gaze landed on the beautiful blonde-headed woman standing on the top step of the deck, looking down at us. Her composure was calm, yet her crystal blue eyes looked curiously toward me. I narrowed my eyes, unsure what to make of the sudden interest. Why are you here? Colt snapped, finding his voice after a moment of silence. His eyes had turned ice cold, and I internally shivered to see them like that. My gaze ended on the muscles around Colt's jaw. They were jumping out of pure anger, and his once handsome smile was now replaced by a hard, straight line. Who was this woman? Why is Colt so angry? From where do the triplets know her? And why would she come here unannounced? I needed to see if my boys were still alive, she said. Sons? Is this woman Colt, Gray, and Samuel's mother? My gaze snapped back toward the woman, and I searched for any sign that what she just said was true. My gaze moved bewildered between the brothers and her, and I internally shook my head, making the obvious connection between them. They have her eyes, her full lips, and her nose. I guess everything else they inherited from their father. Mother, Colt growled, and I suspected that what she just said wasn't the truth. He must believe that she was lying. Was she here to spy on them? Or was she really the concerned mother? Colt, she said, pinning his gaze, crossing her arms around her chest and lifting a perfect eyebrow. Was she challenging him? The atmosphere around me became thick, and I started to feel uncomfortable and nauseous. Sam, I said, tapping him on the shoulder, could you please take me back to my room? I would like to go and freshen up for dinner. Sam turned his gaze toward Colt, then his mother. Both of them gave him a nod, and he carried me back in silence toward my bedroom. My room still smelled of the triplets and sex, even though it was hours ago. Sam helped me off his back onto the bed, not saying a word, and rushed toward the bathroom, drawing me a bath. Then he came back and entered my walk-in closet, searching for clothes for me. By this time, I had enough of this silly silence, and I wanted to know what the hell was going on. Sam, I called. Yeah? He said, not really bothered to peek his head out. What's your mother doing here? I asked, getting straight to the point. Sam turned quiet again. Was he avoiding the subject? And if he was, why? But after a short pause, I could hear him sigh, and a second or 5 later, he walked out of the closet with his head on his chest. That bad, huh? I asked. Sam shook his head and peeked at me from under his eyelashes. Then what is it? I asked. He took a seat next to me, taking my hands in his. As you know, my brothers and I have gone on a search for our fated mate or mates for a couple of months, he said, and I nodded my head. Gray told me that was one of the main reasons why Gray and Sam were constantly fighting. Sam couldn't keep it in his pants. We told our mother. Well, both of our parents know about you, he said, getting up. Why was Sam so nervous? This wasn't a normal thing. Sam is laid back and calm. What wasn't he telling me? Okay, I said, so what is the issue? Sam's gaze snapped to me and worry crossed his eyes. There isn't an issue, he said. It's just... You didn't tell her who I was, I asked. Yeah, it is just a bit more complicated than just that, he said. I nodded in understanding. She doesn't know I am disabled, I said, feeling my heart sink. No. Does she have an issue with wolves with disabilities? I asked, feeling myself choke on the last word. No, princess, Sam said, and he came and knelt in front of me, taking my hands in his. His eyes looked a bit guilty. My mother doesn't have an issue with that. My grandmother was in a wheelchair, and we managed. She loved her until her death. Then what is the issue? I asked. Why are you waiting to mark me until after the alpha ceremony? Sam looked like a deer caught in headlights. He wasn't prepared for me to ask the question. Colt thought it would be best to do it then, he eventually answered. Why? He is. We are just protecting you, he said, his eyes pleading. We don't want to rush you. Sam, I said, looking him straight in the eye, I hope you know that I can see that you are holding something. I am not, he stuttered nervously. Okay, I said, and Sam visibly relaxed. I'll go check on your bath, he said. I nodded, letting Sam leave. Yet my heart and mind were in battle. My heart said to trust what Sam said, yet my mind screamed that they were keeping me a secret. Why would they do such a thing? Was it because of my disability? Was it now becoming a problem for them? Have they come to their senses and want to reject me? Let's get you in the bath, Sam said as he entered the room. But before he could lift me off the bed and carry me off to the bath, I spilled the unfiltered thoughts my heart and mind were fighting about. I think you are keeping me a secret, I said, and Sam's arms froze around me. That confirmed my suspicion. I just wonder when you are going to decide to reject me and throw me to the wolves. Colt's POV. Are you kidding me right now? I growled at my mother as soon as Kate was out of hearing range. How dare you come here? This place still belongs to your father, the Alpha, my mother argued. I can come and go as I please. You knew we were coming here, I said, getting furious. She might be my mother, but she is interfering in something that is not concerning her. And we told you we would introduce you when we were ready. My mother took a deep breath, keeping her posture calm like a real Luna. Colt, I just wanted to meet the girl, she defended. I needed to know why you three would team up together to keep her a secret. It is not in your nature to do such a thing. You might look and move the same, but your personalities are different, and you three working together made me interested in knowing who the secret girl was. I shook my head. Go home, I said. At least let me spend the night, she said. Let me meet her. So that you can judge her? I snapped. Why would I do that? She asked, surprised. Because, Mom, Gray said, our mate is disabled. She flinched at Gray's words and knitted her perfect blonde eyebrows together. I, in return, gave Gray a slap on the head. That was the last thing I wanted our mother to know. What the fuck, Gray? I growled over the link at him. Think before you say something. You just gave our secret away. Sorry, bro, he replied and dropped his gaze. She will eventually find out. You know how she is. Nothing can be kept a secret for long. He was right, and because she knew we were coming here, she took advantage of checking it out herself. She is dis? My mother choked on the word and swallowed hard. She didn't expect that, and with Sam carrying Kate off to her room, she wouldn't have noticed her disability. Now the bloody cat is out of the bag. Yes, I spat. Catherine Jones, from the Silver Moonstone Pack, is our mate. My mother's eyes widened. Is she the Catherine Jones? She asked, looking a bit bewildered. The girl who saved the pups and almost lost her life? I nodded with a smile. Kate was seen as a hero among the packs. Her name had spread far and wide because of what she had done. Every pack in the area knew Catherine's name, but no one got to know her personally. The Silver Moonstone Pack was a very private pack and usually kept to themselves. If it weren't for some of the alphas of the neighborhood packs being at Kate's shift, no one would have known that the alpha's daughter had been hurt. Alpha Duncan and Luna Melissa barely allowed their children to go to rival balls or rival pack ceremonies. That was how they ensured survival and protected their next heirs. Wow, my mother gasped. No wonder you were so secretive about it. Mom, Gray said, climbing the steps. Kate is a bit sensitive about her disability, but she is getting better. She tried to reject us, I growled under my breath. What? My mother gasped. And it took us time to make her see that we wanted her, Gray said. Are you marked and mated? My mother asked. Mated, yes, Sam said from behind my mother. Marked not yet. We want to mark her after the alpha ceremony, I said. Kate has gone through a lot of shot, and recently she was able to move her toes. She is getting better, Mom, Sam said. She just needs time to heal, Gray continued. It seems like you boys have thought it through. My mother said. What will you do if she can never walk again? We will love her, I said. Support her, Gray added, and be the best mates and lovers any she-wolf could have, Sam continued. And if she falls pregnant with just one pup? My mother asked. And it is not yours, Colt, but one of your brothers? A small smile played at the corners of my lips. If you think that would change my mind, I said, you are making a big mistake. We are identical triplets. We all carry the same alpha blood, Mom. Does it really matter whose sperm made her pregnant? I will love the pup as my own, Gray said. Me too, Sam said, getting excited at the thought of it. I raised my eyebrows, looking at my mother. Are you satisfied? I asked. Yes, for now. She looked at me and sighed. I asked Sally to prepare us dinner. She changed the subject. Mom, Gray growled. We already have plans made. Well, sorry, she said. I just thought. Wrong. Gray said. You thought wrong. I am preparing dinner tonight. Gray lifted the bucket with the crayfish. I'm making my famous seafood platter tonight. Mom scrunched her nose in displeasure. She wasn't too fond of seafood. Very well. I will tell Sally not to worry, she said. Thanks. Gray said. If you would excuse me, my mom said, looking a bit unwanted. I guess I need to leave. All three of us stared at my mother's back as she headed toward the door. Can't she stay? Sam asked. No, I said, it's just going to complicate things. But she looks so upset, Sam said, and hurt commented, and my gaze snapped toward him. And sad, Sam continued, turning his gaze toward me, his eyes pleading. No, Sam, I growled. I ran the few steps up to the top, shaking my head. This is for the best. Until we are fully marked, she or anyone else in that matter will not come close to Kate. But, Colt, she is our mother, Sam pleaded. Yeah, I know. I said, and I sighed. What if Mother decides to interfere like she did with Amy? Will you accept that? Sam's face hardened, and he shook his head angrily. He liked Amy a lot, and he fully believed that she was our mate. We all dated her. She was our first love. But my mother found out that we were dating, and she wasn't too happy about our choice. She didn't want us to be mated to a long-ranking Omega, and she went out of her way to make Amy's life a living hell until Amy gave in, broke our relationship off, and jumped packs. No, I would be furious, he said. Do you think she would try to interfere? Kate is our fated mate, not some random girl. You would be surprised at what our mother is capable of, Gray said, his gaze moving to mine. I knew what he was referring to, too. That was the main reason why I left our pack in search of my fated mate. My mother had this bright idea of trying to find me a chosen mate, one that would be able to give me pups. I, on the other hand, refused, packed my things, and went on a road trip. Gray didn't want to leave my side, and Sam didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to meet more women. What is he talking about? Sam asked. You need to tell him, Gray said, looking at me. He needs to know. Tell me what? He asked. Mother decided to pick a chosen mate for me, I said. Sam looked at me as if I had grown another limp in a few seconds. He started to say, but I cut him off. I would have been forced to mark and mate a random she-wolf if I hadn't found my mate, I explained. I ignored Sam's bewildered expression and pushed past him toward the entrance of the living room. What I found next made me lose my shot! Catherine POV. Thank you, John, I said as Sally's mate carefully sat me down on the living room chair. My pleasure. Is there anything else I can do or get for you? He asked. No thanks, I said, smiling. He was so willing to help. I am fine for now. Call me if you need anything, he said, heading toward the exit. I will, I said, watching John disappear around the corner, leaving me with my own thoughts. I have been pondering in my room for a while now. Sam left me there to take a bath. I know he means well, but I was more interested in knowing what was going on between the mother and her 3 sons. Why was Colt reacting so angrily toward her? Why has she come? Were they in some kind of trouble? Were they neglecting their responsibilities for being with me here? My heart started to rise, worrying for my mate's sake. Did Luna come here to reprimand them? Luna. My eyes widened. It was very disrespectful of me not to introduce myself, yet I couldn't bear the tension. Oh, goddess, the first impression is always a lasting one. How will I fix this? I took a deep breath, trying extremely hard to get my racing heart under control. I needed to think, and I needed to do it quickly. It took me a while to quiet down. My thoughts were all over the place. Eventually, I felt more in control. After a few more deep breaths, I could think more clearly. First things first, I needed to know what was going on. Then I will be able to figure out what to do. I closed my eyes, focusing on my hearing abilities. I was hoping to hear a conversation between the boys and their mom. I wasn't very fond of the idea of eavesdropping on them, but something felt a bit off. I needed to know why Colt was acting so coldly around his mother. If you would excuse me, I guess I need to leave. Luna's voice was the first I noticed. Were they done talking? The sound of high heels was making its way to the entrance, and I didn't have much time to prepare myself. The next moment, the triplets' mother entered the living room. She looked annoyed and upset, and there were clear signs of anger on her beautiful face. Where is she going? Was she giving in to her son's demands to get up and leave? She didn't see me sitting on the couch, and she stalked towards the exit. Luna. The word escaped my lips. It was only a murmur, but she heard me. Her head snapped toward my voice, her eyes widened, and she froze in her tracks. For a moment, she just looked at me, startled. I guess she didn't expect me to be down here, and it was making me uncomfortable. Catherine? She asked carefully, knitting her eyebrows together. How did she know my name? Did the boys tell her? Kate, I corrected, giving her a nervous, shy smile. Kate, she repeated, looking at me in wonder. What were her thoughts of me? Why was she looking at me like that? Are you leaving, Luna? I squeaked out. Hell, why was I so nervous? I have met numerous Lunas before, and never did any of them make me feel like that. Because she is our mate's mother, Kia mused. Don't trust her blindly. I still wanted to ask Kia what she meant by that, but she left just as soon as she came. I am, she said, smiling. yet her smile never reached her eyes. "And call me Mary." "Okay," I said, nodding. "Why are you leaving?" Luna Mary hesitated before she sighed and walked closer to me. I know when I have overstayed my welcome," she replied. "Is it?" She shook her head, cutting me off by lifting her hand. "It's nothing to worry about," she said. "Colt is just being Colt. He is just being a typical difficult alpha male." I nodded with a smile. I knew Colt well enough to know there was a reason for every action. He was hard and cold on the outside, but he was all soft and mushy on the inside. He must have his reasons, which made me even more curious. "I would like to apologize for their behavior and mine," I said, searching Luna Mary's gaze. "No need," she said, waving the apology off. In less than a second, the atmosphere around changed and it became thick and unbearable to breathe in. My gaze snapped toward the entrance, seeing the boys standing at the door. All three of their gazes were pinned on us. Colt's face was red out of anger, the muscles in his jaw jumping up and down as he gritted his teeth. His eyes were shooting daggers at his mother, and his hands were balled into fists. He looked like he was about to lose control and storm his mother. Gray, on the other hand, looked like he had seen a ghost. His face was ashed, and his gaze was moving continuously between me, his mother, and Colt. I slowly moved my gaze toward Sam. Yet he had a whole different expression on his face. He had the look of bewilderment engraved on his sweet face. Was he confused? I had better leave before my eldest kicks me out, or worse, storms me like a bull. The Luna tried to lighten the mood, turned and rushed toward the exit. "No, wait," I called after her. Luna Mary stopped at the door and dropped her shoulders. She wasn't happy with me telling her not to go. I couldn't let her leave this way. It wasn't right. Gasps filled the room, yet I ignored the boys. They can punish me later for my decision. Luna Mary turned her head towards me, anger radiating from around her. She lifted her gaze to look at me, and her eyes widened and a gasp of shock left her lips. Catherine POV. I was waiting for Luna Mary to say something, yet her face was frozen in surprise. What was she looking at? Did I do or say something wrong? I moved my gaze toward the boys for help, yet I didn't expect to see them standing there with their mouths wide open, gawking at me. It was as if all of them were frozen in time. I knitted my eyebrows together, irritated. Did I have something in my hair? All the boys stood there frozen like statues, not even blinking their eyes. Colt's gaze was pinned on me, and he had this weird look of disbelief crafted from his cold, hard face. There were no traces of anger anymore, just shock. Gray's expression was similar to Colt's, yet it looked like he was about to pass out. The blood on his face was drained, and he was turning whiter with every ticking second. Was he holding his breath? Sam had this beautiful, broad smile spread over his lips. He looked so proud. A single tear rolled down his face, yet the excitement and happiness were visible in his eyes. It was as if he would explode in excitement at any given second. What was it with the triplets? "What?" I hissed, feeling uncomfortable under all their gazes. "Why are you all staring at me like that?" Silence followed for merely a few seconds before any of them blinked. "Because," Sam said, his smile widening even more, "you are standing without support." What the hell was he talking about? I can't be standing. I am broken and need repair. I am disabled, for goodness sake. I have given up on the idea that I will never be able to walk again. What the fuck was he playing at? Is he so selfish as to give me false hope? "That's impause," I started to say, but as my words trailed off, so did my anger. I was looking down at my feet, and for a moment I felt all kinds of different emotions flood my mind. I blinked a couple of times, unable to process what I was seeing. Was this some kind of trickery? Yet, I was standing. I suddenly felt the tears building up behind my eyelids, and I fought with all my might against the hot tears. In the end, they won the battle and spilled over, rolling down my already hot, flustered face. "This is impossible," I whispered to myself. "This must be some kind of weird dream." I pinched myself and yelped out of pain. I was now sure what I was seeing was real. Or was it? My gaze snapped toward where I sat moments ago. The chair was empty. I must have pulled myself up in some way, trying to stop Luna from leaving. With an eye wink, Sam stood next to me. He must have noticed that I was losing the battle with my emotions, and my legs gave way under me. He caught me in his strong arms, lifting me and carrying me back to where I once sat. Sam carefully set me down on the chair and squatted before me. He looked worried, maybe even terrified for my sake. "Are you okay?" he asked, carefully moving the loose strands of hair from my eyes. I don't know," I stuttered through sobs. I wasn't sure if I was happy, sad, or even angry. All I knew was that I was still in shock, and I didn't believe what I had just seen. What should I tell him? I was so confused. I just couldn't process that. I just stood on my own. It was unreal. Will I be able to do this again? More questions than answers flooded my mind, making me hyperventilate. Was I about to have a panic attack? Sam calmly lifted my chin and looked at me. He was trying to get a read on me. Then he took a seat next to me and pulled me into his lap, wrapping his arms around me. His body heat, mixed with his intoxicating summer breeze scent, steadily made me relax and calm down. "Take it easy," he said, rocking me from side to side. "We are all here for you." Those must have been the magic words to release Colt and Gray from the spell, and they both rushed to my side. "Are you okay?" Gray asked, wiping the tears from my eyes. "Kate," Colt said, "that was unbelievable. You are healing. If it goes on like this, you will be running circles around us soon." "Don't get your hopes up," I wanted to say. This might just be a one-time thing. A fluke at most. Luna Mary cleared her throat, and everyone's attention moved to where she still stood. I had forgotten about her being there. "I will be leaving now," she said with a clear, controlled voice as she straightened her clothes. I lifted my gaze toward Colt, searching for him, hoping he would stop his mother from leaving, yet I could only read the tension. "Was she really that bad? Good night, Luna," I said respectfully, giving in to Colt's demand. "Good night, Kate, boys," she said, turning to leave. The sound of high heels echoed down the hall, and moments later we could hear a car start and drive off. Colt squatted down to my level, and Sam let me go. He scrunched his nose in disgust and lifted an eyebrow. His eyes turned black. "Shit, Ray must be on the surface." Yet they changed back seconds later, and he tapped the point of my nose. A sly smile followed his lips, and I knew trouble was coming. "Someone was a very naughty girl," he said, pinning my gaze. My heart started to race in my chest. He must be smelling John's scent on me. Oh, goddess, what was he going to do? Gray stepped closer, taking a whiff. "Is that Sally's maid I smell on you?" he asked. I hesitated, worried. I called him to bring me down." Colt's gaze darkened. "Should we punish John for touching what is ours?" Gray asked with a dark smirk on his lips. "That sounds fun," Sam said behind me. "What punishment would we give the old wolf?" Colt asked, looking at his brothers. Colt's POV. Just seeing my mother so close to Kate made me vivid. I could feel Ray scratching on the surface. He was fueling my anger, and he wanted out. He wanted to protect our mate against my own mother. The one person who gave birth to me and should be trusted was seen as a threat. Ironic, I thought, and I internally laughed. If Ray's feelings towards her were so strong, how did Sam and Colt feel? Did they have the same feeling? "Leave now!" I barked over the link at my mother. "Colt, I was about to, but," she started to explain. "Calm down, Colt," Gray yelled over the link. "This is our mother. She will not." "Now," I yelled, cutting Gray off. Gray froze next to me. He had never seen me like this, yet I ignored him, focusing on my mother. I could hear her sigh on the other side of the link. She wasn't scared of me, but she knows wolves can turn unpredictable and aggressive with their mate around. It was in our instinct to protect what belonged to us. I had better leave before my eldest kicks me out, or worse, storms me like a bull, my mother said to Kate. "No, Mother," I growled over the link at her. "You should rather say that you need to leave before Ray breaks free. You know how fond you are of your looks. Ray might just leave a few scratches on your beautiful face." My mother had a thing about her looks. I knew this little threat would make her leave faster. Ray would never hurt her on purpose, but he might just chase her off and humiliate her. I didn't want to go that far, but I was willing to protect what was mine. I was willing to protect what I loved, and I was willing to stand between my family and my mate. This girl was mine, and no one would take her from me. "No, wait," Kate called after her. I wanted to say something to stop Kate, but she jumped to her feet and took a step forward, stretching her arms out to stop my mother. "Colt," Sam yelled over the link, "are you seeing what I am seeing?" "Yes, yes, I am." I replied after a moment when I got to my senses. How? Gray asked. I don't know. I was looking at Kate in amazement. I have seen a lot of things in my life, but never a wolf that was disabled getting up and walking. Was it Kia who was doing this? Was Kia making her stronger? Or was Kia the reason she couldn't walk? What? Kate growled, and I sensed that she was feeling uncomfortable with all of us staring at her. You are standing, Sam said, catching her off guard. Kate mumbled something under her breath, sounding angry and disappointed in Sam. She is going to lose it, Sam, I said. You had better be ready to catch her. I am always ready, he said. I will never let her fall. There was a promise in his words, and for some reason, I believe it. I felt the same. Gray, are you okay, man? I asked. He had an unfamiliar vibe coming from him. I don't know, he said, sounding scared. Something inside me is screaming to go to her, but it's so strong that I can't make any sense of it. It's making me afraid to go close to her. What does Duke have to say? I asked. He is whimpering like a puppy in my head, he said, refusing to look at me. Sam rushed forward, yet my focus was on Gray. Concentrate and tell me what you are feeling, I demanded. Colt, do it. I growled, feeling the anger that had left my body flow back. It's like she is summoning me to be at her side, Gray said. She wants us to protect her, yet we need to give her space to find herself. I completed his words. Ray, I called. Help me connect to Gray's feelings. I needed to understand what he was feeling. Instead of the feelings Gray received, I received vivid images. I internally gasped, astonished at what I was seeing. What did you see? Gray asked. Nothing, I lied. Yet Gray didn't believe me, and he shivered. She is, he said, sounding broken. No, I will not let that happen, I growled over the link. Then what are we going to do? He asked. We will keep her safe. Take it easy. We are all here for you, I heard Sam say. We better go to her before she suspects something, I ordered. Gray and I rushed to Kate's side, trying to find out how she was feeling and praising her, saying that there was hope for her to be able to walk on her own. I will be leaving now? My mother's voice echoed through the room. All our gazes snapped toward her, and I straightened myself, taking a dominant stance. I could feel Kate's gaze on me, pleading for my mother to stay, but I just couldn't give in. Just as much as I loved my mother and my family, I knew what my mother was capable of. She might look like the perfect Luna, always in control and presentable, but she could also stir up a war with just a snap of the fingers. I internally sighed in relief when my mother took off, yet a familiar scent, which wasn't ours, came from Kate. I carefully took another whiff, making sure I wasn't mistaken. How did she get down here, Sam? I asked over the link. I thought you took her upstairs. I am not sure. I left her in her room, he replied, focusing on calming Kate down. Colt, Gray said, I know. I cut him off. Let's make her sweat a bit. Colt, no, Sam said. She just calmed down. Yet she disobeyed us, Gray said. She had another male touch her, I said, and a sly smile fell on my lips. We will go easy on her, I promise. I squatted down to Kate's level. Fine, Sam said, letting Kate go. The scent was now even more dominant, and I scrunched my nose in disgust. Ray wanted to play along, and I let him. A gasp left Kate's lips, and a smile played on my lips. Oh, girl, I am going to make you mine in so many different ways tonight that you will never have another male even dare look at you again. Someone was a very naughty girl, I said. She hesitated, and her cheeks flustered red in embarrassment. She knew we could smell John on her. She knew that we had warned her not to let any other male touch her. Should we punish John for touching what is ours? Gray asked, playing along. That sounds fun, Sam said, sounding enthusiastic. I pinned Kate's gaze, keeping them prisoner for a moment, as my brothers discussed John's punishment. What punishment would we give the old wolf? I asked, looking at my brothers. I internally laughed, knowing that Kate wouldn't let John get punished for her mistakes, and that she was so quickly distracted. No, Kate said. I will not have him punished because of me. So what do you suggest we do? I asked. Kate swallowed hard and she shivered. Rather punish me, she said. I made the mistake, and it is only right for me to. Very well, I said, getting to my feet. Sam, take our mate to her room while we discuss how we are to punish her. Catherine POV, you reek, Sam said, scrunching his nose in disgust as he lifted me from the couch. I don't like the way you smell right now. Sam carried me back to my room, his facial expression stony. He even refused to give me a single glance. My heart pounded in my chest and my body stiffened. Did I really anger him this much? I'm sorry, I said, reaching out to touch his cheek, yet Sam refused to be touched and pulled his head back. That took me by surprise, and I felt my heart sink into my shoes. Sam opened my bedroom door and set me down on the bed. He gave me one hard look and stalked off to the bathroom. If Sam was this angry, how angry was Gray or even Colt? My eyes grew wide, and I was nervously fiddling with the hem of my shirt. What will their punishment be? I knew the brothers would never hurt me. I was sure of that. Their wolves wouldn't allow them to. Would their punishment be something that would test my limit? Or will they ignore me for the rest of our stay? Would they lock me up in my room? Or worse, reject me? My heart pinched hurtfully in my chest at the last thought. I just got used to the brothers and had grown to like them, maybe even. Will they go that far? I could hear Sam opening the taps in the bath. There was still water in the bath. I guess he was just adjusting the temperature. My gaze snapped toward the bathroom door where Sam appeared, and I raised my head slowly to look at him from under my eyelashes. His gaze was pinned on me, his eyes dark and angry. "Get undressed," Sam barked coldly. There was no playfulness in his voice, just pure displeasure. Where did his sunny personality go? With shaking hands, I pulled my shirt over my head, then loosened my pants and pulled them off, leaving me in my underwear. "All of it," he growled. I shivered at his tone and whimpered under my breath. This wasn't Sam at all. I wasn't used to him being this cold and unfriendly. I wasn't sure if I liked this dominant side of Sam, yet I couldn't help feeling my core tightening. I did as he said, leaving me sitting bare on the bed. Sam's eyes never leave me. He watched as I removed every piece of clothing. Was he trying to intimidate me? Yet I had this nagging feeling at the back of my head that this was just an act. After a short pause, Sam came to me, picked me up, and carried me to the bath. He carefully set me down in the water. The water was stinging my skin and was a bit too warm to my taste, yet I couldn't help but appreciate the huge pile of bubbles in the bath. Sam got to his feet, gave me one hard look, and handed me a sponge and soap. "Get that scent off of you now," he hissed, "before I lose control of Luca and he takes matters into his own hands." Sam's eyes turned black, and my breath hitched. Luca had always been playful and carefree. Nothing could ever tip him over the edge. Sam turned around on his heels and left the bathroom, leaving me alone. I sat there for a moment in silence. I was dumbstruck at the way Sam was acting, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. How will Gray and Colt act? "I can't hear you scrubbing," Sam growled from the other room. Goddess, was he listening to what I was doing? I felt a bit uneasy. What were the brothers planning to do with me? I shook the thought off, laid back in the water, and closed my eyes. I sighed. This was my doing. I just needed to relax and think clearly. Maybe I should just apologize? Would that help? I shook my head. I had this nagging feeling in the back of my head that the triplets were out to make sure I wasn't going to let another man touch me again. Another breath escaped my lips, and I sat upright. I just needed to accept my punishment and take it as a true warrior. I fucked up. I pulled the sponge closer, poured some liquid soap on the sponge, and started scrubbing myself. "Let me give you a hand." A husky voice came from the door, followed by the scent of pure rain. My gaze snapped toward the bathroom door, seeing Gray lying against the door frame and looking at me. His gaze was a bit softer than Sam's. His head cocked lazily to the side, and his hands were buried in his pants pockets. I nodded wide-eyed, not making a sound. Gray got upright with a small smirk playing on his lips, closed the gap between us, and held out his hand. I visibly shivered as I handed him the sponge. I turned my body so that Gray could access my back, and he started gently washing my back. "I hope you know this is only the beginning of your punishment," Gray whispered in my ear, sending sweet shivers down my spine. "There is more to come." I turned my head slightly to look into Gray's eyes to see if he was serious. Yet I trembled slightly at the coldness in his eyes. A smile formed on his perfect lips. He was enjoying this. "We don't like it when our orders are taken lightly," he warned, and my breath hitched as Gray's eyes turned black. Was Duke angry at me too? Nor when they are being disobeyed. Gray got to his feet, stalked toward the exit, froze and looked back at me, then winked with a small smile before he left and closed the door behind me. What the was that? Did I imagine that? I shook my head and giggled behind my hand. That I didn't expect coming from Gray after he blew so much worry inside me. Now I was sure this was just an act. Were the boys trying to make me submit? They couldn't be that angry at me for having John carry me down to the living room. They were just building tension. Tension. Tension to what? The next moment, the door opened and crashed against the wall, and Colt walked in. His aura was so strong that a whimper escaped my lips. Yet as soon as he pinned his gaze on me, the triplets act came crumbling down, and what happened next caught the boys by surprise. Catherine POV. The screeching sound of my cell phone ringing shook me awake, and I reached out towards the bedside table, trying to get to it. Yet it was impossible. I was sandwiched between two huge bodies, and a third body lay between my legs. I sighed, dragging my eyes open. Colt was softly snoring in front of me, his breath fanning over the side of my face, and his huge hand was holding onto my thigh. I turned to look over my shoulder, noticing Gray was spooning me, his head buried in my hair. I guess Sam was the one who was lying between my legs. Did he pass out there? That thought shook me wide awake, tightening my core as I remembered how far the triplets had taken me and pushed me last night. I have come countless times, my body folded in positions I never thought were possible, and the evidence of last night was embedded in the stiffness of my muscles. Yet I couldn't complain. I wouldn't mind them doing that again. If that was the punishment I would get for messing up, I would definitely go out of my way to mess up all the time. My phone started ringing a second time, and I tried getting to it. "Ugh," I moaned. "Guys, I need my phone, please." Sam growled under his breath, yet he turned around and pulled me down toward him. Gray hissed, unhappy at the loss of me, and Colt sat upright, growling at Sam. "What?" Sam snapped at his brothers. "You both held her the whole night. Now it is my turn." Gray and Colt started to pull me back toward them. "Bloody hell," I growled. "Stop!" The boys looked at me, bewildered, and let go of me. "I am not some toy you can fight around," I hissed. "I am a living person. Now hand me my phone, please." Gray gave me one look, turned over, grabbed my phone from the bedstand, and handed it to me. My eyes widen when I see the time. It was only 3 a.m. "Fuck!" I internally growled. Who would call me at this time? I unlocked the phone, clicked on the missed call pop-up message, and saw that I had missed calls coming from Jimmy. My eyes widened because of that, and worry kicked in. Why would he call me at this time of day? Something was up. Something must have happened. "What's wrong?" Gray asked, sleepy, watching me with one eye. He must have seen my reaction. "Nothing," I said. "Jimmy called." "At this time of day, doesn't he sleep?" Colt asked, yawning. "Why do you look so worried?" "What?" Sam asked, kissing and sucking my thighs. "Because," I said, "it is not like Jimmy. He doesn't call so early, and usually he would rather send me a message than call me, except if it was extremely urgent." "Then call him back," Colt said. "Or should I?" "After I have gone to the bathroom," I said, pumping Gray in the ribs. "I need to go, please." Gray sighed and got up. He pulled me from under Sam's head and carried me off. Sam groaned under his breath, not liking the idea that I had moved. "Colt, can you organize some food for us?" I asked, looking over Gray's shoulder. "I am starving. We never got to eat dinner last night, and there wasn't time to stop and have some snacks." "Sure thing, princess," he said. "What do you have in mind?" "I'm not picky," I said. "I'm just starving." Gray set me down on the bathroom chair, brought the wheelchair closer, and gave me some privacy. When I was done, Colt had already organized a beautiful breakfast. "Sally just brought it in a minute before you were done," Colt said. "Dig in. It's still hot." "Looks delicious," I said, taking a bit of the omelet. The boys lazily watched me eat. "Ain't you going to eat something?" I asked with my mouth full, looking at the other 3 plates of food. Gray chuckled, licking his lips. Colt moved his eyebrows up and down, looking at me like I was some piece of meat, and Sam undressed me with his eyes. "Oh, I know that hungry look." "Forget it," I said. "I have to call Jimmy back first." Gray pulled his lips in a thin line. Sam pouted, and Colt hid his fist in his hand. "Hey, watch it," I said. "Jimmy is my brother." "We don't like it when you say another male's name," Gray said. It makes us angry, Sam said. It makes us want to rip their limbs off, Colt said with a chirpy voice. Okay, I said, taking a bite of my food. You know I need to make a call to you-know-who. The boys rolled their eyes at me and sighed. That's not helping, Sam said. He is still a male. He is still my brother, I said, wiping my lips with the napkin. In any case, he found his mate. What? Gray gasped. When did that happen? Sam asked. That's good news. Is he marked and mated? Colt asked, seemingly a bit interested. Jimmy called yesterday, I said, looking at Sam. Remember? Sorry I didn't look at the caller ID, Sam said, looking at his brothers, and we didn't really have the time to discuss who called. Gray and Colt looked at their brother, seemingly annoyed. I don't look at other people's phones. I am not that obsessive or jealous, Sam lashed out. Kate is a grown she-wolf. She can make her own decisions. I trust her, and so should you. Wow, were the boys fighting about my incoming and outgoing calls now? What will be next? Scanning my calls? I sighed. I know wolves are pretty possessive over their mates, but this is ridiculous. How the hell will I be able to handle 3 of them if the first one is okay with something, the next one is not, and the third can't decide? You will have to sit down and discuss it, Kia chuckled. Colt is the alpha. His decisions are always final, but you can override them. And how will I be able to do that? I asked. Be creative, Kia said, and she giggled, sending me possible ideas for convincing him. Interesting idea. Very manipulative, but interesting. Well, I said, smiling, breaking up the bickering. It was him, and he told me he had found his mate, Joey. I gave the boys a look that said, back off, before I moved my attention to my phone and pressed the daily button. The news I received next made my stomach turn over. Catherine POV. What do you mean she is missing? I yelled over the phone at Jimmy. If I ever thought that I was going back to bed and snuggling up with my mates, I surely have changed my mind now. Exactly what I am telling you, Jimmy said, his voice quivering out of worry. When Mom went to check on her, she was gone. Jimmy sighed heartbrokenly. Ellie, our little sister, has been taken from her crib. There was no sign of her, and the pack had been looking for her since last night. Usually a nanny is with her throughout the night, but the nanny fell sick and called my mother. In the few minutes between when the nanny left and my mother came to the nursery, Ellie went missing. There was no trace of forced entry or even a scent they could follow. I was sure this was an inside job. Someone in the pack must have done it. But who? Who would want to take a 2-year-old? I am coming home, I said. And do what? Jimmy snapped, frustrated. There is nothing for you to do here. Every pack member has gone out looking for Ellie. That hurt coming from Jimmy. Did he have so little faith and trust in me? Did he too see me as a broken and useless wolf? Moral support, I snapped, shaking the thoughts off. I might not be able to help look for her, but at least I can try to calm Mom down. Sorry, he said. I didn't mean it like that. I knew I was a bit sensitive about the fact that I was disabled, but I could still try and provide comfort to my parents. Are you sure you want to come back? He asked. Mother isn't taking Ellie's disappearance well, and she might upset you. Yes, I said sternly, making up my mind. Family comes first. I'll see you shortly. I cut the call, sank back in my chair, and wiped the stray tears from my eyes. This can't be happening. This must be a horrible dream. Ellie can't be missing. Who would do such a bad thing to a pup? My heart pinched thinking of how badly my mother must be taking it, not to mention how hard it must be for my father. Are you okay? Sam asked, kneeling to look at me. I had forgotten that they were all sitting on the bed listening to the conversation. I shook my head, unable to say a single word. Sam gave me a tender smile, lifted me from my wheelchair, and carried me back to bed. He sat down, holding me, and I broke down in sobs. Colton Gray's arms snaked around me, making my heart hurt even more. Who wants to take a baby from her crib? Who would do such a horrible thing? I sobbed, and for a moment I let myself cry my heart out. I felt heartbroken. This is my little sister who has gone missing. She hasn't hurt a fly in her little lifetime. Colt pulled me from Sam's arms into his lap, cradling me. He was rocking me from side to side, trying to calm me down. Sam and Gray quietly got up, and they left the room. If something happens to Ellie, I will do everything in my power to find that person and tear him to pieces. My breath hitched, thinking of my father. He will never be the same if he loses his youngest daughter. I couldn't bear thinking about how my mother would take it. All I could think of was Ellie being around someone she didn't know. How scared and confused she must feel. A small, sad smile followed at the corners of my lips, thinking of the first day I met the little girl. My mother brought Ellie to visit me in the hospital. She said Ellie was excited when she heard I was awake, and she couldn't wait for Jimmy to get off school. Ellie was driving my mom insane, calling my name. My mother gave in and just brought her to come see me. The memory of my mother walking into the infirmary room, holding the little pup with golden locks on her head in her arms, made me feel so much better about myself. It was the worst time of my life. I had just woken up from a coma and found out I had lost 8 months of my life, missed my kid sister's birth, found out my best friend and mate had an affair and got rejected, not even to mention that I was now bound to a wheelchair. Yet the smile on the little girl's face warmed my heart. She took all that bitterness and sadness, and for a moment she was my sunshine in my darkest hours. My mother walked toward my hospital bed, and Ellie turned her little face toward me. She smiled and held her little arms out to me. My heart swelled and broke as I took the little girl into my arms. I sobbed, seeing how perfect she was. I even counted every toe and finger. "You are so beautiful, little pup," I whispered to her. "I am so honored to meet you." "Ka," she said, smiling, her little hands touching my cheek. My heart melted, and I loved the pup even more. "I usually bring Ellie with me when I come to visit," my mother said. "She always enjoys being here, and it seems to sadden and frustrate her when she tries to get your attention and you do not respond." My heart pinches, feeling warm tears spill over. I was crying out of happiness. "Thank you," I said. That meant so much. Ellie looked at me with her big eyes, shifted her head toward our mother, and looked at her. I guess she couldn't understand why I looked so sad. "It's okay, little one," I said. "I am just thrilled to meet you." My fingers brushed over her tiny feet, and she pulled her feet away. "Ah," I said, and a smile grew on my lips. "Someone is ticklish." Moments later, Ellie cried out with laughter, the sound so pure that it gave me goosebumps and a spike of hope. I wanted to get better, to be able to do all the things an older sister would do for her younger sister. Ellie eventually fell asleep in my arms, and I couldn't help but admire her peaceful sleep. "Thank you for bringing Ellie," I said, carefully handing her over to my mom. "We will be leaving now," my mother said. "I need to get Ellie to bed to take her nap. We will come around again." "Are you feeling better?" Colt's husky voice brought me back to my present. I had stopped crying but was staring blankly before me. I slowly nodded my head. "Thank you for being there for me," I said. Colt smiled and rubbed my back. "It is only a pleasure," he said, his voice soft and tender. He got up and carried me to the door. Sam and Gray had packed everything. "We are ready to leave." Was I so out of it that I didn't even notice that they were packing my stuff? I nodded in response, giving Colt a small smile. Colt carried me down the stairs, said goodbye to Sally and the staff, and we left. An hour later, another shockwave hit the pack. Colt's POV. The drive back to Silver Moonstone Pack was fairly fast, yet quiet. Kate wasn't saying a word, and even if we spoke to her, she didn't pay any attention to us. She had become a prisoner in her mind. Ray whimpered, worried for our mate's sake. He didn't like Kate being sad and depressed. He was afraid that it would break down everything we had worked so hard for over the last few days. "What do you think happened?" Sam asked over our shared link. "Not sure," I replied. "All I know is that it has something to do with her family." "Will we try and help?" Gray asked, turning to look at me. I nodded. We were all worried, and it was only right to assist our mate in finding whoever had gone missing. As soon as we entered the pack, Kate lifted her gaze, and we could feel the tension building up again. I brought the SUV to a stop in front of the pack house. No one came out to welcome us. Not a single soul was in sight. Odd, I thought. "Where is everyone?" Gray asked, startled at the sight. Everything around the pack house was dead quiet. We couldn't even hear children cry or play. Did everyone go out and search? Was the loss of a pack member that critical? My gaze snapped toward Gray, and his eyes widened at the same time as mine. "It must be an alpha pup or someone from the alpha family that has gone missing," Sam said. "My money is on Kate's younger sister." Don't be ridiculous. Gray growled over the link. Who would dare steal a pup? Besides, alpha pups are protected and guarded. Whatever the reason, I said, looking around, it is hurting the heart of the pack, and we had better help resolve the issue. With that said, we all climbed out of the SUV. Gray went to help Kate and carried her to the front door. Sam pulled her wheelchair out and set it up for her. I grabbed Kate's luggage, carried it, and set it down in the foyer. Even inside the pack house, it was dead quiet. Our voices echoed through the quiet hallway. Gray, push me to my father's office, please, Kate said, sending shivers down my spine. Her tone was dead, as if she had given up before she even started. Gray nodded and pushed the chair down the hallway. The silence is intimidating, Sam said. Are you scared? Gray asked, chuckling under his breath. No, he said, but it is making me nervous. It was making all of us nervous. The Alpha office door was shut, yet Kate knocked and pushed the door open. Wait here, she said, and she pushed herself inside. Gray closed the door behind her, looking toward me. What do we do now? Sam asked. I don't like this at all. Fuck, I don't know, I said. I gave my brothers one look, dug my phone out of my pocket, and called Kate's brother, Jimmy. Jimmy's phone, a female voice answered after the third ring. She sounded sleepy. This is Alpha Colt, I said. Yes, I need to speak to Jimmy urgently. One moment, please, she said between a yawn. He is in the shower. I will go get him. Thanks, I said, listening as she moved and opened the door. Jim, she said, her voice echoing in the room. Alpha Colt is on the line for you. He says it is urgent. The shower tap closed, and then the sound of the shower curtain opened. Colt, Jimmy said, did you guys arrive safely? Yes, we are waiting outside the Alpha office. I'll be down in a minute, he said, cutting the call. In less than a minute, Jimmy came running down the hallway, his hair still soaking wet. Sorry for making you wait, he said, extending his hand. It has been difficult the last couple of hours. What's going on? I asked, taking his hand to shake. And why is it so quiet? Gray asked. My little sister Ellie went missing last night, he explained. The pack members aren't taking the news well, and most have been out searching throughout the night. What time did she go missing? Sam asked. Around 9 p.m., Jimmy answered. Why didn't you call us then? I asked. Why did you wait until 3 a.m.? Gray growled. Gray had the useful skill of being an exceptionally good tracker. We could all track by smell, but Gray could actually see a trail of how people walked and moved. To add to the skill, Gray was comfortable working with complicated information. He would process information just as fast as he could find people. He was literally a bloodhound on 2 feet. He even helped us solve some critical cases in the pack a few times. It happened so fast, we panicked and started looking for her, he said. I tried calling earlier, but Kate's phone went to voicemail. I assumed you were busy. Jimmy's voice trailed off. We were, I said, admitting to the obvious. But you could have called the beach house and informed our housekeeper of the issue, Sam chirped. As I said, Jimmy said, everything happened so fast. And before I knew it, it was already 3 a.m. Gray nodded in understanding. Will you show us Ellie's room? Sam asked, and Jimmy narrowed his eyes, confused at the request. Why? He asked. We couldn't find anything, and the chances that you will are slim. Maybe, maybe not, Sam said. Gray here is like a bloodhound searching for clues. I have experience with potions and lotions. If anyone used magic to get in and out, I would be able to tell you, and Gray would be able to point us in the right direction to find her. Jimmy's eyes widened as he took a step back. Relax, I said to Jimmy. My brothers know what they are doing. It's not that, Jimmy said. We don't allow any magic inside the pack grounds. It's forbidden. Any reason why? I asked. Long story, he said. But if someone used magic, our law stated that they would be prosecuted. I nodded in understanding. I am not going to use magic, Sam said, annoyed. That didn't convince Jimmy. Sam went through some weird shit when he was younger, I said. He can feel. My thoughts trailed off, looking at Sam. His face was hard, and he had crossed his arms defensively around his chest, giving me a hard stare. Don't try and explain it, he growled over our link. They don't need to know. No one knew exactly what Sam had gone through, but we all knew he had a powerful gift. When he was little, his gifts would spiral out of control. The pack members became scared of him, and my parents had no choice but to send him away to some magic boarding school to help him control his gift. Sam never spoke about it to any of us, and we never asked. "I did a course on magic," Sam said. "If someone went in there and used magic, I would know." Jimmy raised an eyebrow, looking bewildered at Sam. "Trust me, kid, Sam knows what he is doing," Gray said. "Let us help," I said, trying to diffuse the tension. "You have nothing to lose, only to gain." Jimmy sighed, and his gaze moved toward the closed Alpha office door. Was he asking his father's permission? After a short moment of silence, Jimmy nodded in agreement, and we followed him down the hall toward the nursery. Catherine POV. "What are you doing in here?" I growled, being emotional as I saw Sam and Gray moving around in Ellie's nursery. They were touching and smelling her personal things, her toys, her blankets, and even her crib. "Looking for clues," Colt said, lying against the wall with folded arms around his waist. He looked kind of bored, as if he had seen his brothers act like this 1,000 times before. Jimmy stood next to Colt, looking like a deer caught in headlights. He wasn't sure what to do or say to me. Who gave them permission? Did he bring them in here? "Clues for what?" I snapped, looking at Jimmy. My father said, "We know it is a pack member," Gray said, cutting me off, "and she used a rare kind of powder to hide her scent. It's kind of interesting." Sam continued with a smirk on his lips. He rubbed his thumb and fingers together, smelling it, before he lifted his gaze and looked at me. "That's baby powder," I snapped, yet Sam's smirk grew wider. "No, it's not," he said, walking closer. "Smell it." "Why would I want to do that?" I asked, looking annoyed at him. "Because you will notice it has a different smell and texture," Colt said, turning his gaze toward me. Sam knows what he is doing. Was Colt serious right now? Did he believe Sam? This is a nursery. The white stuff on Sam's fingers must be baby powder. What else could it be? I snapped at him. Colt just raised his eyebrows and didn't say anything further. He had this concerned look on his face, and I guess he didn't want to argue with me. Do the boys even know the difference between baby powder and whatever powder Sam thinks it is? And what exactly did Sam think the white powder was? "A female took Ellie," Gray said, turning his gaze to me. He looked pleased at his findings, yet that information didn't help much. We had a huge pack, and that wasn't narrowing down to who took Ellie. "And you know that just by standing there?" I asked, crossing my arms around my waist. "There are a lot of females that come and go in here. What were the triplets even trying to do or prove? That they could find Ellie? We are a strong pack. If we can't find Ellie ourselves, no one will." "True," Gray said, pulling his lips into a pout. "But only one covered her scent with this powder." "And we are back to the baby powder," I said, throwing my hands in the air. Gray ignored my comment and turned his gaze toward me. "Ellie's nanny should be between 40 and 45, Gray said. That information startled me. How the hell does he know that? Did he send spies to get information on me, my family, and my pack? Gray raised an eyebrow as he patiently waited for my answer. I internally sighed. I was picking at random straws to blame somebody. I so desperately wanted to find the one who had taken Ellie and bring her back that I was taking it out on my mates. They just wanted to help. I can't blame them. They had nothing to do with her disappearance. They were with me last night, and there was no way they could be involved. I slowly nodded my head and sighed. "Grace," I said. "She is Ellie's nanny, and she is 42. The other dominant scents are very similar to yours," Grace said, "which I assume is your mother's scent." "I am not sure what you are smelling," I said. "As I said, there are a lot of people coming and going in here at different times." "I know," Gray said, turning back to what he was doing. Sam's gaze snapped toward the window, and he opened the curtains. "She went out the window," he said. "That's impossible," Jimmy said. "We are 5 floors high." "True, but not impossible," Sam said. "Can you get me on the roof?" "Yes," I said. "I'll show you." I turned the wheelchair around, racing down the hallway to a fire escape. "The stairs will take you to the roof," I said. Colt nodded at Sam and Grayson, and the two ran up the stairs. I watched as they disappeared around the corner. "Oh, Goddess, please help us find Ellie." I wasn't sure what I would do if something happened to her. A breath escaped my lips, and new tears burned behind my eyelids. That poor little girl. She must be so scared. A few minutes passed, and I was starting to get worried that Sam and Gray hadn't found anything. What were they doing for so long? Did they find anything? Did they find Ellie? How did you get on this floor? Colt asked, breaking my chain of thoughts and startling me. I took the elevator, I said, turning the wheelchair in that direction. My father had it installed about a year ago. It was a project he took on to help me move around. Colt nodded, not saying a word. I mostly use it, I confessed. Most of the pack members don't have the time or patience to wait for it. Yet Colt kept silent. He was back to being his old cold self, and I wasn't sure if I liked that part of him. Mind if we take the elevator down? He asked. I knitted my eyebrows together, confused. Don't you want to wait for Sam and Grayson? I asked. No, he simply said, turning in the direction of the elevator and starting to head that way. Aren't you coming? He asked when he noticed me not following. I said, looking toward the stairs. They are not coming down that way again, Colt said. They are already below. Wait, what? I gasped, surprised. How the hell did they get down there so quickly? You heard me, Colt said. Now come on, they are waiting for us. Colt's POV. I have a trail, Gray's mind linked, and it is heading east. I'll be down in a minute, I replied. Wait for me before you run off. Roger that, he said, cutting the link. Aren't you coming? I asked Kate, who was still sitting and waiting for Sam and Gray. Her gaze shifted back to the stairs, unsure of what she wanted to do. Gosh, some days I am angry at myself for not marking her. Things would have been much easier. They are not coming down that way again. I said they are already below. Wait, what? Kate gasped, surprised. She surely didn't expect to hear that. You heard me, I said, considering leaving her here for now. She was now wasting precious time, and the weather was picking up. If it started to rain, the trail might run cold, Gray wouldn't be able to pick up the scent, and Ellie might just be lost. Jimmy told me that the border was secured. No one could get in or out without the patrol knowing. Kate pushed her wheelchair forward. Do you want me to help? I asked. No, she answered. It keeps my mind off Ellie if I concentrate on something else. I nodded, headed to the elevator, and pushed the call button. Kate arrived just as the bell indicated the elevator's arrival. Ladies first, I said, and Kate rolled her eyes, pushing herself in and turning around to face the exit. I kept my posture stiff and cold, walked in and pushed the ground floor button. As soon as the door closed, I bent down, breathing down her neck. Kate immediately reacted to my closeness. I saw that, princess, I whispered in her ear, and she shivered. It doesn't mean that when there is a crisis you can be rude to me and my brothers. This will not go unpunished. Kate's gaze snapped toward me, her eyes wide and her breathing escalating as tension built between us. A smile followed on my lips when her sweet arousal hit my nose, and I took a deep breath, feeling how the scent burned down to my lungs. I said, holding Kate's gaze. You sure smell delicious. Kate's face turned crimson, which in response made my cock twitch. If it were any other time, I would have stopped the elevator and fucked her here and now. I internally sighed. This wasn't the time. Kate opened her mouth to say something, yet decided not to, and swallowed hard. Did I just take the wind right out of her sails? You did, Ray mused, enjoying our mate's embarrassed state. Now that I have your full attention, I said, smirking, we will do everything in our power to find Ellie, even if I have to call for resources from my pack. You will do that? Kate asked, surprised. Yes, I said, straightening myself and taking Kate's hand. You are our mate after all. We will do everything in our power to protect what belongs to us, even your family. The elevator signaled our arrival and the doors flew open. Come, I said. Sam and Gray have news. They believe the kidnapper had gone east. East? Kate asked, looking worried. Yeah, I said, pushing the wheelchair out of the elevator. We need to know what is on the east side of your territory. Kate's heart rate suddenly escalated, and it triggered worry inside me. The dark forest, she said, turning to look at me. Do you think she took Ellie in there? Kate shivered at the thought. I am not sure. Why are you afraid of the forest? I asked. You noticed my reaction, didn't you? She asked, dropping her gaze to her hands. Yes, I said, pushing her further down the hallway to the exit where Sam and Gray waited. It's not that I am afraid of the forest, she said, and she let out a breath. It's where he pinned me down. I stopped in my tracks and brought the wheelchair to a stop. Who was the he she was referring to? Was it Brian who wanted to take advantage of our mate? Different kinds of questions and emotions rushed through my mind, and for a second, I was boiling over out of anger. I was furious, and I wanted to rip whoever had scared and touched Kate apart. I wanted to know who dared to be so bold as to scare my mate. What did he want from her? What did he do to her? Is that the reason she gave up hope in herself? I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. I needed to know what was going on before my emotions took over and I became irrational. There was a lot at stake. We needed to find Ellie first and make sure she was safe. My gaze moved to Kate, sitting and staring out before her. I needed to know why she was so afraid. "Kate," I said, trying to keep my voice even. I was forcing myself not to show the anger that was pumping through my veins. What are you talking about? Who pinned you down, and what did they want?" Kate suddenly looked tired, and her shoulders dropped. She let out a long, uneven breath. "The night I lost my ability to walk," she said, not looking at me. "The pack was attacked by rogues." Kate suddenly went silent. "What happened?" I asked. We all knew of the attack, but no one knew exactly what happened, and none of us had the guts to ask. We were scared that the incident would upset Kate. Yet I could hear the hesitation in Kate's voice. Something must have happened before she ran into the burning pack house. "Brian fought 4 rogues," she whispered, wiping her eyes. "He ordered me to run back to the pack house." "One of the rogues followed you?" I asked. "Yes," she said, turning to look at me. "One came after me and he tackled me to the ground. He pinned me down. I thought it was the end of me, but—" I knitted my eyebrows together, seeing Kate's eyes glaze over. For a second, it looked as if she was replaying the event in her mind. Will she be able to process and tell me about this old memory? "Tell me what happened when he pinned you down. Did he hurt you?" I asked. Why did I have this bloody, nagging feeling in the back of my head that something dramatic had happened to Kate, and she never told anyone about this? "No," she said, shaking her head. "He never hurt me," which was odd. "Then what happened, Kate? Why are you so scared?" I asked, squatting next to the wheelchair. I wanted to shake her until she gave me answers. "He made me look into his eyes, his horrible red eyes, and all I could see were endless pools of darkness," she whispered. "They are coming for me. They want me. And they will do everything in their power to have me." Catherine POV. I never had the guts to tell anyone what I had seen that night, not even Jimmy. I was afraid of what people would think. They might just think I am crazy, yet I just revealed my secret to Colt. Colt got to his feet, not saying a word, and pushed the wheelchair toward the exit. His face had turned hard and cold, and the muscles in his jaw were jumping out of anger. Was he angry at what I just told him? Angry at me? My heart sank into my shoes. I shouldn't have told him. He must think I am crazy. He will now use this as a reason to reject me, and then send me off to some kind of loony bin. I can't go to a mental hospital. I am not crazy. I swear this is true. That was what I saw and felt. Then why was it so bloody difficult to talk to Colt now? Why was I so afraid? A minute ago, I spilled my guts and opened up about what happened. Why was I so scared now? Colt pushed me outside onto the porch, and Sam and Gray rushed closer the second they saw us. "It's about time," Sam complained. "It's getting dark. Clouds had moved in, and it seemed like a thunderstorm was brewing on the horizon. It was coming in fast." "What did you find?" I asked, hearing my voice tremble. Sam looked at me, knitting his eyebrows together, then moved his gaze to Colt. "What did you do?" Sam asked and shifted his gaze back to me. "Nothing," Colt said, sounding confused. "Then why do you look like an angry bull ready to storm someone and Kate like a scared mouse?" Sam asked. Colt sighed. "Kate told me a story of something that happened, and I believe her," he answered. "I guess?" My heart leaped out of my chest upon hearing Colt's words, and I couldn't help but shift my head to the side to look at him. You believe me?" I stuttered like an idiot, cutting him off. "Yes, why wouldn't I?" he asked, surprised. "Because it sounds insane," I argued. "Well," he said with a smile following on his lips, "then my brothers and I are all insane. We have seen funny things as well." Was Colt serious or not? My gaze searched his, and I searched for any indication that Colt was lying. Yet I couldn't find anything. "Care to share?" Gray asked, breaking the tension between us. Maybe later, Colt said. That's if Kate wants to share. Now we have more important things to take care of. The brothers all looked at me, and for a second I felt small under their gazes. Why were they looking at me like that? What? I asked. We are waiting for you to tell us about the forest, Sam said. What do you need to know? I asked. Where does it go? Sam asked. Where does it connect to? Gray asked. Is there something that we need to look out for, like a river, a mountain, or a cliff? Colt said. Oh, that, I said, feeling a bit silly. There are about 30 miles of forest going that way, I said, pointing my finger in that direction. About 18 miles in, there is a river. Is it part of the one we once took a swim in? Gray asked. Yes, it connects, but the terrain is a bit more rural. We haven't been in this forest much after my accident, I said. Sam and Gray looked at one another, then at Colt. Colt shook his head at his brothers. Were they communicating? What will he tell them? The truth? Will they believe me? For some reason I had the feeling that Colt would not tell his brothers, except if I told him he could. That gave me a new sense of trust in Colt. When the boys were done with all the information they wanted, Colt and Gray stripped and shifted into their wolves. You are not going to join them? I asked Sam, surprised. No, he said. It takes too long for me to shift, and I will only slow them down. I am much slower than them. So you are staying? I asked. Yes. Yes, I am. Someone needs to look after you while they are gone. Was Colt deliberately doing this? And did he take my memory as a warning? Ray turned his huge head toward me, nodded, and then turned and stalked off into the forest. I was staring at the spot they had entered for, I don't know how long, when the sound of thunder could be heard roaring above us. They will be all right, Sam said next to me. I hope so, I said. I can't bear to lose them, too. At least you will still have me to look after you, Sam said, giving me a Cheshire smile. I couldn't help but laugh at his goofiness. Sam knew how to put the sun back into my cloudy day. My gaze snapped toward the sky, and my chest suddenly hurt. It had grown pitch black outside, and lightning was now dominating the sky. Do you think they would be able to find her? I asked. Gray is a great tracker, and Colt had his own special abilities, Sam said proudly. What kind of abilities do the triplets have? Come on, Sam said. It's about to rain, and Colt will kill me if you catch a cold. Sam grabbed the wheelchair handles and started to push me inside, and my gaze turned, looking back to where Colt and Gray had just disappeared. For a moment, everything around me stopped when a huge brown wolf walked out of the shadows, staring back at me. I gasped as a cold feeling ran down my spine, making me shiver. When I blinked again, the wolf was gone, and for a moment I believed it was just my imagination. Colt's POV. Can you still follow the scent? I asked Gray as the rain became heavier by the second. Barely, he said, frustrated. We will have to improvise soon, I said, coming to a slower jog. What do you suggest we do? Gray asked. Splitting up, I said. It's the only way. I don't like that idea, Gray said. We don't know these woods and... Gray, I stopped him. I know she is here, we just need to find her. She is a kid, a pup. Just imagine if our pup were lost here in the wilderness. We would be crazy worried. We have no other choice. I can't let her stay here outside. She will die in this cold. Fine, Gray growled. We split when I couldn't follow the scent anymore. Agree, I said happily, knowing that we would do more ground like that. The only reason we were searching together was to protect one another should we encounter any issues in our search. Gray and I ran about 4 miles deeper into the forest when Gray came to a stop. He looked frustrated and sort of angry, and I knew he couldn't pick up the scent anymore. The rain had washed it away. This is as far as I can take you, he said. Understood, I said, knowing this is where we would go our separate ways. I will go left. You go right, Gray said. Ray nodded. And Gray, I called over the link as he disappeared into the forest. Yeah, man? Just keep in touch every 15 or so minutes. I don't want to come looking for you. I will, he said. Be safe. Ray stretched his legs like a lazy dog. The cold had made our muscles stiff and sore. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the clean forest scent. Let's go, I urged Ray. I don't want to stay outside the whole night. Ray took off, running deeper into the forest. My legs started to burn as my paws dug into the damp, cold earth. The ground was already wet and slippery, making it difficult to run at full speed. We were starting to grow tired. The deeper we ran into the forest, the worse it became. We had to improvise to get through the thick and overgrown parts. "Is it just my imagination, or is the forest trying to keep us here?" I suddenly asked. "It seems like it wants to keep us here for eternity," Ray growled, irritated. At that very second, Ray's paws got tangled in something, and he slipped, lost his balance, and landed in a puddle of mud. He roared out, frustrated, "Great! Just great! What next?" He spat, annoyed, as he got to his feet. I couldn't help but chuckle. Ray could handle a lot of things, but being soaking wet for long periods wasn't his idea of fun. Now, he was covered with red mud as well. Ray shook his coat, sending the mud flying in all directions, then pushed forward. We were not giving up. We refused to stop. "We will find her." I was sure of it. "We will find Ellie and bring her back home safely. We will bring her back alive." Lightning lit up the sky, and thunder roared 2 seconds later. The storm was now above us. "Gray," I called over the link. "Status report. Are you all right?" When Gray did not reply, I knew we were too far apart. Ray threw his head back and howled, filling the dark forest with echoes of the wolf's call. Gray answered my call a few seconds later. He was still safe, still alive, still searching. He hasn't given up yet. My mind wandered off, wondering who would take a pup. Was it the mother who lost her pup? Was it the mother who wanted to take revenge? Were there issues within this pack we didn't know about? Ray came to a stop, breaking my chain of thought. He threw his muzzle in the air, taking a whiff of our surroundings. "What are you smelling, big guy?" I asked. "I think it's a scent of some sort," he said. "It's a bit faint. I'm not sure what or who it belongs to." Ray started forward slowly, making sure not to step on anything and make unnecessary noise. Ray's ears twitched side to side. He was listening for something. Was he afraid that we would stumble on the kidnapper? Except for the heavy rain, in the distance I could hear masses of water moving. "It must be the river. Are we this deep already?" Ray came to a stop, turning his head and shifting his head to the side. "What are you hearing?" I asked. I was too distracted to concentrate. "Shh," he said. "Listen." I concentrated, blocking out the rain and river, focusing all my energy on the sound Ray was hearing. My heart leaped out of my chest as I recognized the hysterical cry of an infant not too far from where we were. "She is here. She is alive. We need to go and get her." "Ray, go," I ordered. The sound of angry, rumbling water came closer, and worry started to kick in. Was Ellie left close to the water? She would drown if the river came down. Ray suddenly came to a stop, knitting his eyebrows together. "What the fuck?" "A trail?" I gasped, surprised. "It seems like it," Ray said. "Next time, tell Kate to indicate where the trail starts and ends." "Maybe she doesn't know about the trail," I defended. "Kate hasn't been home for quite some time, and it looks new." Ray darted down the path toward the rumbling of the water. He was still valiant, looking for any sign of danger. The river came into view, and the waters were angry and dangerous. If Ellie happened to end up in the water, there was no certainty that she would survive. Ray lifted his muzzle to the air, and a faint scent lingered in the air. "That way," I said. The urgency in my voice made Ray run as fast as he could over the rocky riverside, chasing after the scent. What we found next broke my heart. Catherine, POV. "What is taking so long?" I yelled out, worried, as I pushed the wheelchair up and down like a crazy person. "Do you think they are lost? Did they get hurt? Did they find her?" Sam and I were outside on the porch under the cover, overlooking the forest. The weather had turned for the worse, and it was now difficult to see anything with all the rain. "They are fine," Sam said, unconcerned. "Listen." The sound of wolves howling in the distance echoed over the valley, sending shivers down my spine. I turned my gaze to Sam, asking the unspoken question. "The first howl was Ray calling Gray," Sam said. Duke answered, saying they were okay. "How do you know that?" I snapped, not believing him. Sam chuckled, amused, finding my reactions funny. Why did he think everything was so funny? Nothing about Ellie's disappearance and my mates, his brothers, being out there in the wet and cold is funny. Why wasn't he freaking out about his brothers being out there? Does he know something I don't? "I can sense when they are in trouble," Sam said, giving me a crooked smile. "And so far, nothing interesting is going on except that they are cold and wet and maybe even covered in mud." And you are not worried that they would get hypothermia? I snapped, irritated at Sam's attitude. Why couldn't he be serious for once? Because you told him to be himself. Kia yapped from the back of my mind. That made me angry and snap at her. How dare you comment now after being absent at such a critical time? I snapped and growled at her. Our mates are out there. Yeah, looking for your sister, she shot back. Don't you think I am worried too? I ignored her, turning my attention back to Sam. No, he said, I am not a bit worried about them. You are unbelievable, I lashed out. I know, unbelievably sexy, he said, laughing. I rolled my eyes at him, shaking my head, frustrated at him. Arguing with Sam was like arguing with a 2-year-old. Sam sighed. Gray and Colt can take care of themselves, he said. We have gone through much worse than just a bit of rain. My gaze snapped back at Sam. What was he talking about? Sam must have understood my confusion, and he pulled my chair closer to where he was sitting. He lifted my gaze to look at him. I wasn't sure what he was looking for, but he cocked his head to the side and worried lines followed on his face. I understand you are worried, but don't be, Sam said tenderly. We have a lot of experience in such circumstances. I don't understand, I said. Tell me why I shouldn't worry about them. They could get hurt, or even worse, die. Remember our first meeting? He asked, searching my gaze. I nodded. How could I forget? I had just come back from rehab and was excited to see my family again when I met them. A smile formed at the corners of my lips, remembering Colt's bewildered reaction when I told him to reject me. Latinos, I said. I remember. We were traveling for months in search of our mate. That was until we found you, Sam said. I heard something about that, I said, not knowing where he was going with it. Now, Sam said, shifting his body forward. We visited dangerous places where no man has ever traveled before, looking for our mate, you. If Colt had his way, we would have traveled to every corner of this planet until we found you, even the deep blue sea. Is this how important the mate bond was for Colt? And his brothers? We have been to and seen places with worse weather than this. We have lived through hurricanes, earthquakes, landslides, floods, and the list goes on and on. But the point is, we are still here. We have a lot of experience with such weather. We know what to do. We know what to look for. And we know what kind of trouble we can get into. My brothers will be fine. I will tell you if they are not, and then I will go out looking for them. It doesn't make it any better, I argued. They are still outside and we are in here. I can't help but worry. I know, Sam said, pulling me from my chair and into his lap. I took a deep breath of Sam's intoxicated summer breeze scent and enjoyed the feeling of it moving down my nostrils into my lungs. It was slowly calming my insides, making me think more positively. That is how mates are hot-wired. But, he said, tapping my nose, getting frustrated and moody is not going to bring them home any faster. I sighed, knowing Sam was right. Colt didn't leave you here because of your shifting, did he? I asked. No, he said, shaking his head. He left me here for 2 reasons. What is the first reason? I asked. To be back up, he said. As I explained, if something happens, I will be ready to go out and help. And the second? I asked. He told me to stay with you and make sure you didn't do anything stupid, he said seriously, poking me in the ribs. Stupid like what? I asked, narrowing my eyes at him. Sam chuckled at my facial expression. Princess, if I hadn't stayed with you, he said, getting serious, you would have been outside in the pouring rain with your wheelchair chasing after us. I dropped my gaze. That thought did cross my mind a few times. Was Colt able to read me now? A long and heartbroken howl sounded in the distance, breaking my chain of thoughts, and Sam's gaze snapped toward the forest. That was Ray, Sam said, getting up and carefully setting me down in my chair. He walked to the end of the porch, getting soaked. Gray answered Colt's call just a few seconds later. What? I asked, worried. What are they saying? What is going on? What is happening? Sam turned his attention to me, and a smile followed on his lips. They found her, and they are returning home. Colt's POV. My baby. That's my baby, Luna Melissa cried out. The raw emotions of relief were audible in her broken voice when she saw us coming up the steps toward the porch, with Ellie in my arms. Luna Melissa rushed toward me, tears of happiness rolling over her already red and swollen face. I carefully handed Ellie over to her mother and stood back, observing the beautiful and pure love she had for the pup. "Thank you," Luna Melissa said. "The pack will forever be in your debt." I smiled and nodded tiredly at her. "If you would excuse me," she said, wiping tears from her face, "I had better get her dried up and take her to the doctor to get her checked out." I nodded in understanding, and I reached out and carefully rubbed my fingers over Ellie's chubby little face. She had stopped crying the second I found her and held out her little hands to me to pick her up. It was as if she knew I meant her no harm and went to look for her. Except for her being soaking wet, cold, and shaken up pretty badly, the poor pup wasn't hurt at all. There was even evidence that someone took care of Ellie, giving her something to eat and drink. Yet, even though Ellie was now safely back at home, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling in the back of my head that this wasn't over. Luna Melissa smiled at me, then turned and left. "You did it," Sam yelled out, pulling me into a one-arm hug. "You found Ellie!" "If it wasn't for Gray, we wouldn't have found her," I said. "This was all you, Colt," Gray said. "You found and brought her home." "Guys!" Kate called from the entrance, wiping stray tears from her face. She looked much better than before we left. I guess Sam must have told her we had found Ellie and were returning home. "Let's get you two cleaned up," Kate said. I nodded, looking toward Gray. He, too, looked exhausted and cold. We silently followed Kate down the hallway to a whole different area of the pack house. I was surprised at how big the place was, and it took us ages before Kate finally stopped at a door. "These are quarters reserved mainly for guests and visiting families," she said, unlocking and pushing the door wide open. "Are we staying the night?" Gray linked. "It seems so," I replied. "Everything is already set up," Sam chirped excitedly. "We weren't planning to stay the night, but I guess it would be for the best." Gray and I were exhausted, and I wouldn't let Sam drive us back in this kind of weather. Not that I didn't trust him. He had his license, but Sam wasn't as good a driver as Gray and I. Sam pushed Kate's wheelchair inside, and he turned the wheelchair around so that Kate could face us. My gaze moved over the open area, finding the quarters spacious and warm. There was a living room area with a huge fireplace. A fire was already burning. A dining area where we could all easily fit at the table and have our meals, and a small entertainment area with a pool table and a dartboard. My gaze moved to 3 nearby doors. "Gray, your luggage is in that room," Kate said, pointing to a room close to the door we had just entered. "And Colt's, your room is that one." "Where is Sam sleeping?" Gray asked. "Sam is located it," Sam said, cutting Kate off and keeping a straight face. "I am keeping her warm tonight. She already said she was fine with that." Gray looked at Kate, lifting an eyebrow. It seemed like he was pleading for her to reconsider. Kate rolled her eyes, shaking her head, and huffed under her breath, not very impressed with Sam. "You will be sleeping outside if you keep on teasing your brothers like that," Kate warned Sam. "But it is raining outside," Sam playfully argued. "You can't throw me out in the cold. I'm afraid of the rain." "Liar," Kate said, keeping a straight face. "I know you like getting wet." "Yeah, but not that way. It is too cold outside." Sam mumbled. Kate burst out laughing. "Yeah, stay where it," and her laughter was magic to my ears. The stressful atmosphere of today is now completely dismantled. "Seriously, Sam, someday you could be such a baby," she said. "I know," he answered, "but that is what makes you love me." "Whatever," she said, rolling her eyes and turning her attention back to Gray. "Sam will be sleeping in that room," she said, gesturing to the 3rd closed door. "He's just talking shit to piss you off." Gray nodded, seemingly satisfied by her answer. "Where will you be sleeping?" I asked, curious to know if she would be spending the night. "In my room, of course," Kate said. "Why?" I asked. "There is plenty of room for you here." "Because we are not going to sleep if I stay here," she said, seriously. Besides, my room is equipped to help me move around, which will give you two a break from carrying me around and getting some proper rest." "But we like carrying you," Gray said. "I know," she said, smiling, "but you need rest. You have been outside, running for hours in that cold weather, and it's been an emotional roller coaster for all of us throughout the day." I nodded in understanding and didn't bother to argue any further. "If you would excuse me, I'm going to take a hot shower and get myself into some proper warm and dry clothes," I said, feeling cold. The long run in the drenching rain had exhausted me, and I was now left tired and cold to the bones. I shivered. "Are you okay?" she asked, concerned. "I'm fine," I said, turning toward my assigned room. "There is an ensuite bathroom with a shower and tub connected to the room," Kate called after me. "Take your time. In the meantime, I will arrange supper from the kitchen." I nodded and thanked her, heading toward my room, yet I never thought that after dinner the pack would get news of another disaster.